Did I make you jump? Apologies if I did. I don't want to give you a heart attack before you start watching the video. If you're going to have a heart attack, please do that at the end of the video once you've consumed the relevant information. Thank you. I've spoken about why I'm going on this diet, or why I'm currently losing weight, what I'm doing with my diet, how I've tweaked the food quantity wise, protein, carbs, all that jazz in the last video. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about my training setup. So I'm going to split this into 3 separate areas: running, weightlifting or resistance training for those in the industry, and steps and movement. The big driver in my head is I want to run faster. So running's obviously forming a fairly large chunk of my training week. Now, I'm not following a strict plan. I just have this overarching theme, an overarching thing in my head of what I need to get done each week. So I will run one 10-mile or more run. So it tends to sit between 10 and 15 miles because I'm going to be running a half marathon. So that's like my long run. I'll do one middle distance run, and that's going to be anywhere from probably 6 to 8, maybe up towards 10, but probably 6 to 8. So today, for example, I'm going to be doing that at the running club, but I might do that by myself. So the pace is going to vary with that one. They tend to be like the longer run and that second run or middle distance run. They tend to be more, not slow, because with the run club it's probably between 8 and 9 minute miles. By myself it's probably anywhere from 7:45 to 8, maybe a little bit quicker if I'm feeling keen. But yeah, I'll leave the fast stuff, so the 3rd and 4th run will be some kind of interval session, or maybe a fast 5k. So if I do 4 runs a week, it'll probably be an interval session for one of them, and then a fast 5k. Or if the legs are really beat up, that 4th run might be a slow and steady 5k or slow and steady 4 mile, just to get the miles in there but keep the legs ticking along. And mileage wise, on a heavy week probably 35 miles. On a less heavy week, let's say I do a 10 and 8, probably 20, 25, maybe low 20s. So that's the running taken care of, and running burns a ton of calories. So even if if my diet had stayed the same, the amount that I've increased the running, I probably would have potentially started losing a bit of weight anyway, but definitely at the moment I can feel those extra miles and they are helping. Resistance training or lifting in the gym. So obviously I work in a gym 5 days a week, so getting access to the weights isn't too difficult. The thing I'm struggling with at the moment is actually motivation to lift, which is not something I go through kind of phases with resistance training. A lot of it's geared around injury, and like I've got like a long-standing lower back niggle, bit of sciatic kind of pain, so I have to be a little bit careful. So if the back's flaring up, I get quite despondent with it and quite disheartened, and anyone who's had an injury or can't train will feel my pain with that one. So I have to find workarounds a lot of the time. And also with the increased running, more kind of damage and fatigue in the legs, so getting the motivation up to do a leg session or a lower body session I'm finding quite difficult. I can be quite stiff, so that's hard. And then you put the diet on top of that, less energy, less calories coming in, less motivation to train. So I would say I'm getting it done, but it is not easy. I'm not going into those lifting sessions feeling like, oh wow, I can't wait to get under the bar and squat or bench or whatever. I'm finding it quite difficult. In my head I'm trying to look at it as I'm not trying to gain strength in the gym. There was a point where I was going to try and chase down a heavy deadlift, but that to me, that was my enthusiasm getting the better of me, because my back was feeling quite good at the time, and in classic Andy style I was like, oh, that'll be a good thing to chase down, when probably with the increased running and not having as many calories, that's exactly the last thing I should have been doing. But again, easy to give advice, slightly harder to take it on board yourself, but hey, we live and learn. I'm probably lifting, I would say on average 3 days a week, but some weeks that's been twice. A couple of weeks it's been 4 days a week, so let's call it 3, and that is typically 2 upper body and then 1 lower body. And I've kind of fallen into that because trying to lift twice a week with the legs and keep the quality of the runs there, it does not work. Like, something has to give. I need to tone down the frequency and the volume of the running, or I need to tone down the frequency of the lifting. And at the moment, because the running goal is kind of what this is about, it's the lifting that has to take a back seat. And I've tweaked my program today, so I haven't even been doing heavy squats and stuff like that, but my hips at the moment and my lower back, they're not great. So I'm actually going to change up. I'm going to do a new lower body session next week. I'm going to bring the sled in, going to do some sled pushes. I'm probably going to do glute ham raises for the hamstrings, and I'll probably do some single leg work. And that's kind of it. Like, it really is at the moment with the lower body in the gym. It's going to be more of a let's maintain what I've got, as opposed to let's go chasing a heavy deadlift or a heavy squat. I might do some RDLs in there, but again, lower back permitting there. And the upper body sessions, I don't have the recurring theme. I don't really have a brilliant structure with it. Well, no, I do. I'm not following a progression, if you like. I'm not worrying too much if I don't add weight to the bar. I do record what I lift, and I'll look to match it, or maybe, I suppose I am trying to progress, but it feels a bit more, I'm not paying it as much attention. So my upper body sessions will typically consist of a press overhead, a press from the chest, a rowing movement, a kind of pull up / lat pull down movement, and then some arms, and then maybe some core in there as well. So the one I did earlier on today, 6 exercises. It was bench press, single arm row, lat pull down on the cables, landmine press, single arm, skull crushers for the triceps, and seated dumbbell curls for biceps. So 6 exercises, 3 to 4 sets of each. Not rocket science. I say that, but then maybe not everyone trains the same, but to me, that gets the job done. And I'll do something similar. So the second upper body session, it'll have the same movements, just different exercise selections. So instead of a lat pull down, I'll do a chin up. Instead of bench press, I might do dumbbell press. Instead of a single arm row, I might do a seated row. You get the idea, that kind of thing. That's the template I work in my head, which allows me to swap exercises out quite easily. So if I feel like a bent over row is aggravating my back, I can do a seated row and I still get the muscle stimulation. Also, if I'm waiting around in the gym and I can't get on the squat rack, or if I can't get on the piece of equipment, I'm not waiting around 5 minutes. I'm gonna go and pick something else. It doesn't bother me. As long as my muscle gets hit, I'm all good. Resistance training, 2 to 3 days a week, sometimes 4, generally 3. Running, 3 days, sometimes 4, actually quite often 4. So that's 6 or 7 sessions a week. And then movement wise, which is a kind of subject on its own, so I will try and do some mobility work in the gym. So typically it's put with a workout, but I might just put it in when I've got an odd half an hour. So I'll be looking to I might do some core work in there, I might do some hamstring stretching, I might stretch my hip flexors because they're ridiculously tight, I might have a look at posture and kind of do some mobility in the back. But generally I'll just try and keep moving, kind of yoga-esque I would call it. The other section of movement for me is just I'm aware of my daily step count. So at the start of the diet I was just conscious of, right, I'm going to average over 10. That's progressed to 12. I think this week I'm going to be hitting probably between 15 and 17,000 steps a day, every day. The reason for the high step count is purely from a caloric burn perspective. So I do not want to, in an ideal world, have to drop those calories any lower than they are. So I would rather add in more activity. Now, as you've just heard, my activity level, I would say, is pretty high. So I don't want to be training, I don't want to be lifting weights 5 days a week. I don't want to be running 6 days a week. So for me, if I up my steps, just general walking into town, walking at the weekend with Sarah, so you can kind of combine it with things that you enjoy doing, I get that higher burn without smashing my body to bits, and that works really, really well. So if you have got, for someone who's injured, or someone who hasn't got maybe the access to a gym, or maybe just hasn't got the time or hasn't got the inclination to want to go and train like that, if it's about weight loss or fat loss, you can actually get them steps in there, and that's going to help you on your way. Right, training wise, if you have any questions, please stick them in the box below, whether it's about my training, anything that I'm doing, or whether it's about your own training and how you want to incorporate it into your diet. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take it easy. Bye-bye.